begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be. And we hope we don't have any intervening problems, because things happen.
Can I hear that again?
Intervening problems, because things happen.
Now, to those who have ears to hear can clearly hear that something is coming. For those who have wisdom can pick up what Mr. Golden Age is laying down. And this Golden Age terminology is very New Age. As we can see right here, the Golden Age, Aquarius, and the Ring Planet. And this is coming from the official Theosophical Society website. Now, for those who do not know what Theosophy is, it is a religious and philosophical system established in the United States in the late 19th century. It was founded primarily by the Russian Helena Blavatsky and based largely on her writings. It draws heavily from both old European philosophies, such as Neoplatonism, and Indian religions, such as Hinduism and Buddhism. And as we can see down here, it is clumped in with new religious movements and form of occultism. Now, the founder of the Theosophical Society, or should I say the co-founder, is Helena Blavatsky, a Russian and American mystic and author who co-founded the Theosophical Society in 1875. This Theosophical Society loves to talk about the Golden Age, where you also had Alice Bailey, who was an author about 25 books on theosophy and among the first writers to use the term New Age, who directly speaks about the prophecy of the Golden Age and the reappearance of the Christ. Now, her writings between 1919 and 1949 describe a wide-ranging neo-theosophical system of esoteric thought covering such topics as how spirituality relates to the solar system, meditation, healing, spiritual psychology, and destiny of nations, and prescriptions for society in general. Now, get this, she described the majority of her work as having been telepathically dictated to her by a master of wisdom, initially referred to only as the Tibetan. Now, her writings bore the same similarities of those of Blavatsky. So through meditation and esoteric spirituality, they were channeling these ascended masters, where one of Alice Bailey's writings was about the reappearance of the Christ, which there will be a dawning upon the awakening consciousness of humanity. Sound familiar? X, the group chat, Collective Conscious of Earth. Now, this reappearance of the Christ was prophesied to happen in the year 2025, as we can see down here coming from Lucis Trust, which used to be Lucifer Trust, which was founded by Alice Bailey. And we can see right here, 2025 is a Jubilee year in the Christian and Jewish calendar that is also the focus of prophecy. And students of the writings of Alice Bailey know that the year 2025 is anticipated to be of vital spiritual significance. And according to her teachings, this hierarchy consists of ascended masters and spiritual entities guiding humanity's evolution. Bailey claimed that these beings hold a significant meeting every 100 years with their human agents, with the next major and final General Assembly scheduled for 2025. Now, something else I found interesting is how on January 20th, 2025, we have a start date for Aquarius, which we can see down here. Aquarius season is a time when people are encouraged to embrace their individuality, thinking outside the box, and advocate for positive change in their communities and the world. It's a season that celebrates uniqueness and collective consciousness. Where do we see that before? So all of this coming together at the same time that Mr. Golden Dawn is ushering in the Golden Age.
So continuing on where we left off with our Golden Age of Saturn's America notes. So we were discussing the Golden Age and the various ages within the Greco-Roman understanding of the ages of man. Now, to be, very succinct about this, the Nahuatl faith had a similar oscillatory model, cyclical model in terms of the generations or cycles of man. They called it the 5 suns. I believe the Chinese had something similar. And essentially it's the various stages of the solar cycle. It merely extrapolated out into a sort of macrocosmic sense. Because remember, in this world, as above, so below. As within, so without. That which is found in the microcosm is also extant in the macrocosm and vice versa. So you are in this infinite cycle, this circle without a circumference. That idea, the mind of God, the imagination of God, the imagination of the prima causa, the dreamer, the autonomous involuntary dreamer of this entire fleeting reverie of life and existence, And of course, this is found in the Yuga cycle as well, but specifically, we're discussing here the Greco-Roman understanding of it. So we were discussing the Golden Age, and if you recall, the Golden Age was the only age that falls within the rule of Kronos, and it was created by the immortals who live on Olympus. These humans were said to live among the gods and freely mingled with them. Peace and harmony prevailed during this age. Humans did not have to work to feed themselves, for the earth provided food in abundance. Again, the same idea that you see with communitarianism and communism, and of course as well the communal utopia and such. They lived to very old ages, but with a youthful appearance, and eventually died peacefully. Their spirits lived on as guardians. Something to state upon that you see within the Kabbalah, the Zohar. Also, I believe it's mentioned within the Book of Job, or it's at least implied, where it discusses that God will, revisit the judgment upon the evildoer generationally to the third and fourth generation. Now, of course, Yahweh is a God of judgment, a God of justice, right? So if we assume that that is the case, then of course it's not very just to pass moral judgment or to make morality and judgment and criminality multi-generational. Why that is not just to punish the sons, the grandsons, the great-grandsons of the criminal. It makes no sense. Why should your grandchildren and your children succumb to the same punishment for a crime that they did not commit? However, it makes sense if we understand reincarnation to be the case. And within Kabbalah, of course, even within the Old Testament, but typical biblical contradictory fashion, there's plenty of other passages that imply, or at least directly express, that the soul dies with the person upon their death, upon the bodily death, and only lives once, if you will. But of course, in other such biblical passages, we see the complete reverse. And within the Kabbalah, it seems to be the case that reincarnation is a thing. And they talk about how choosing the right vessels, or there's people that are of the Zadik, the righteous ones, that they can live as long as 1,000 generations. They can constantly reincarnate for up to 1,000 generations, sometimes more. Of course, the wicked only can reincarnate 4 generations, and if they fail upon the 4th generation to follow the righteous path, then of course they are just taken out of the game. Now, that becomes rather interesting as a notion when we understand that within the mystery schools there appears to be this sense of genealogical purity and this desire, this endogamous desire, this sort of consanguineous desire to maintain the purity of the line, even to the point of congenital deformations from inbreeding, congenital diseases arising from inbreeding, and all of that, where essentially your line becomes overly homozygous for certain distinct, be it neurological diseases or developmental diseases or whatever it may be from birth. So there is, and again we see that throughout nobility, throughout of course the various Abrahamic sects, throughout the royalty. Wherever you look, it is the case. And in the priest class as well. The priest class as well interbreed too. Wherever we see dynastic priest classes arising. Of course, at times there was overlap between the royal dynasties and the priestly dynasties. We see that, of course, within the papal system. A lot of noble families, banking families as well, became papal families, papal dynasties. So, continuing on. So if we look to the Silver Age, this is the fall, the descent to the Iron Age which we are presently at, according to the Greco-Romans. The Silver Age and every age that follows fall within the rule of Kronos' successor and son, Zeus or Jupiter. Men in the Silver Age lived for 100 years under the dominion of their mothers. They lived only a short time as grown adults, and spent that time in strife with one another. During this age, men refused to worship the gods, and Zeus or Jupiter destroyed them for their impiety. After death, humans of this age became blessed spirits of the underworld. And then, again, we fall further into the Bronze Age. Men of the Bronze Age were hardened and tough, as war was their purpose and passion. Zeus or Jupiter created these humans out of the ash tree. Their armour was forged of bronze, as were their homes and tools. The men of this age were undone by their own violent ways and left no named spirits. Instead, they dwell in the dark house of Hades. This age came to an end with the flood of Deucalion. And then the Heroic Age. The Heroic Age is the one age that does not correspond with any metal. It is also the only age that improves upon the age it follows. It was the heroes of this age who fought at Thebes and Troy. This race of humans died and went to Elysium. And then the Iron Age. Hesiod finds himself in the Iron Age. During this age, humans live an existence of toil and misery. Children dishonour their parents, brother fights with brother, and the social contract between guest and host, Xenia, is forgotten. During this age, might makes right, and bad men use lies to be thought good. The height of this age, humans no longer feel shame or indignation at wrongdoing. Babies will be born with grey hair, and the gods will have completely forsaken humanity. There will be no help against evil. Between the Golden Age and Silver Age was the onset of the Titanomachy, where Kronos or Saturn was overthrown by Zeus or Jupiter. Alternatively, one could say that generation was overthrown by limitation in this sense. However, bear in mind that Saturn can also be assumed to be an archetype of limitation, and likewise Jupiter an archetype of generation. The Silver Age, post-dating the Titanomachy, would be considered our own Golden Age, as the men who were born after the reign of Saturn were entirely distinct from the men born during the Golden Age, of whom were more akin to daemones, meaning knowing or wise, possessing gnosis or the essence of life, as we see within the Garden of Eden, myth prior to the fall of man, by the eating of the forbidden fruit. The Greeks knew this fabulous and mythic era, known as life at the time of Kronos, or zoistin epochi to chrono. This is the Saturnia Regna, with its citizens being that of the primordial man, or as Kabbalah would know them as the Adam Kadmon. Ultima cume venit iam carminis aetas. Magnus ab integro seclorum nascitur ordo. Iam redit et virgo, rediunt Saturnia regna. Iam nova progenies, celo demititur alto. Translation. Now the last age by Cume's Sibyl sung has come and gone, and the majestic roll of circling centuries begins anew. Astrea returns old Saturn's reign, with a new breed of men sent down from heaven. That's from Theocritus in the Eclogue, lines 5 to 8. Interestingly, it was tweeted by Eric Trump and then deleted some 20 minutes later, and he stated this: "Any and all who dare to defy the American Golden Age, heed this warning. You will lose. Toe the line, or we will run you down. The gloves are off, and we are not playing around this time. For now, it's tariffs. But trust me, we can and will do so much worse." Convolutedly, to some the kingdom of Kronos was also pontificated as existing currently on the earth in a realm of peace, justice and prosperity. It goes without saying, but this utopian style of thinking is what would birth the concepts of the Baconian New Atlantis and the Kabbalistic Ben Salem, or New Jerusalem. And this itself traces back to the notion of Zion and the coming kingdom during the Messianic age. And with that, I think we'll leave it there, and we'll then go on to IPEC Goat, funnily enough, and some of the corona, or crown in Latin, predictive programming or social priming, and how that ties into this sort of echoing of the Golden Age concept, and even the foreshadowing of it. As I said, it was predictive programming. So I look forward to getting to that, and hopefully you're enjoying this series, and I look forward to you returning here and us discussing this new angle to the Golden Age. So thank you very much.